Violence in cinema is often loud, messy, and chaotic. But in Road to Perdition, director Sam Mendes does something different. He strips away the brutality down to its essence, turning an execution into something hauntingly beautiful. There's no struggle, no screams, just the steady rhythm of falling rain and the quiet resignation of a man who knows his time has come. This scene, perhaps more than any other in the film, lingers in the minds of those who watch it. Not just for its tragic inevitability, but for the way Mendes and master cinematographer Conrad Hall infuse it with visual and auditory symbolism. Every detail is carefully crafted, and every sound carries emotional weight. The moment I'm talking about is the rain soaked execution of mob boss John Rooney, played by the legendary Paul Newman, at the hands of his former enforcer, Michael Sullivan, played by Tom Hanks. It's a moment of reckoning, both bitter and strangely poetic. To fully appreciate the gravity of this scene and why it resonates so deeply, we need to understand how we got here. This isn't a typical gangster murder born out of vengeance, but rather it's the painful dissolution of a father and son bond that was always destined to break. If you didn't already know, Road to Perdition is actually based on the 1998 graphic novel by Max Allan Collins, adapted for the screen and directed by Sam Mendes. The film follows Michael Sullivan, a mob enforcer whose life is upended when his son, Michael Jr., witnesses a murder committed by Connor Rooney, the reckless son of John Rooney, played by Daniel Craig. What follows is a devastating chain of events. In an attempt to keep Michael Jr. quiet about what he saw, Connor orchestrates a botched assassination, leaving Michael's wife and youngest son dead. Now, with only his surviving son and ousted by the very mob he once worked for, he embarks on a journey of vengeance. This is a condensed summary of the film, leaving out many of its deeper themes and nuances. Road to Perdition is layered, filled with meditations on fate, redemption, religious, and the cyclical nature of violence. But to fully appreciate the brilliance of Rooney's execution, you don't need to know all of that. What you do need to understand is the relationship between John Rooney and Michael Sullivan, because their relationship is what makes this moment so much more than just another on screen killing. Early in Road to Perdition, we learn that Michael Sullivan never had a father. John Rooney filled that void. He took him in, gave him a purpose, and provided for his family. To Michael, Rooney wasn't just a boss, he was a father figure, the man who gave him everything. And in return, Michael was fiercely loyal, repaying that kindness with unwavering devotion. Rooney, in his own way, saw Michael as a second son, perhaps even the son he wished he had. But blood is blood, and when Connor Rooney murders Michael's wife and child, the illusion of that bond shatters. As much as it pains him, John chooses to protect his reckless, insecure son, refusing to hold him accountable. Even when Michael confronts John with undeniable proof that Connor has been stealing from the family, to which John knew all along, he still won't turn on him. Michael understands the weight of that decision. He knows Rooney's loyalty to Connor isn't about love, it's about inevitability. But that doesn't change what must be done. Connor is being protected under John's orders, and the only way Michael can get to him, the only way this ends, is by killing the man who once gave him a home, the man who was like a father to him. And with that, our scene begins. The scene opens with John Rooney and his men stepping into the rain, making their way toward their cars. It's a simple shot, but one that quietly speaks volumes. Beyond establishing the space in which this moment will unfold, the camera cranes upwards, subtly shifting our perception of Rooney. For the first time in the film, he's made to look small, almost insignificant. It's a stark contrast to the commanding presence he's held up to this point. The visual shift marks a change in power. He's no longer the man in control. He's a figure walking towards his fate, tiny and isolated in the frame. And considering Road to Perdition is steeped in religious references, the crane shot takes on another meaning. It's as if an omniscient force is watching, silently observing what's about to unfold. This idea will become even more powerful when we reach one of the final shots of the scene. Then there's the rain. Along with the creeping score, it's all we hear. No footsteps, no idle conversation, just the steady, relentless downpour. Symbolically, the rain serves as more than just an atmospheric soundscape. Rain washes everything away, and here it's the signalling that the end of an era for Rooney has come. This single shot isn't just an establishing shot for the scene, it immediately tells us how we should be feeling ahead of what's about to unfold. We cut to Rooney as he knocks on the car door, waiting for his driver to let him in. In this moment, something shifts. The relentless sound of the rain fades, and the score takes over completely. It's a powerful transition. The moment the rain disappears, reality slips away, and we step into something more poetic, more fatalistic. This isn't just another night, it's the night. The music swells, not as accompaniment, but as a death knell, signaling that Rooney's fate has now fully taken shape. We cut to this beautifully composed wide shot from up the street. Rooney and his men stand on alert, completely in silhouette. This image feels like a painting, a moment already consigned to history, frozen in time. It's a striking image, one that only grows more powerful in the moments to come. Rooney looks around, confused. A POV shot up the street hints at something lurking in the darkness. We cut back to Rooney, where for the first and only time he appears visually confined. Up until now, his coverage has given him space, room to breathe, but in this moment, just before the gunfire erupts, he's boxed in. The gunfire begins as we see the first henchman shot up. Now, before this scene, we see Michael methodically assembling his Tommy gun, setting the expectation for a classic on-screen massacre. Blood splattering, the deafening roar of gunfire, men screaming as they're torn down. Only that doesn't happen. There's no sound of gunfire, no blood, no cries of agony. The execution unfolds in near silence, with only the swelling score filling the void. We don't even see Michael's face, just the muzzle flashes erupting from the darkness. We're not meant to be entertained by the spectacle. There's no glorification of violence here. Instead, Mendes wants us to feel this moment as it dawns on Rooney. We cut to a mid-shot on Rooney, the camera slowly dollying forward into a close-up, drawing us closer as he absorbs the full weight of his decision to stand by his son. He doesn't run or hide. Instead, with quiet resignation, he lowers his gaze, as if he always knew this was how it would end. Then the camera dollies around Rooney in a semicircle, capturing the moment with a slow, deliberate sweep. One by one, his men drop in dramatic succession, collapsing like dominoes. With his back to the oncoming fire, Rooney stands motionless. It's as if every fallen body is more than just a casualty. It's a consequence of Rooney's choices being ticked off one by one. And then we cut back to our beautifully composed wide shot. Only now, it's something far more haunting. The absence of movement makes the frame eerily still. No scrambling survivors, no cries of agony, just the quiet aftermath of the inevitability. This shot alone encapsulates everything that makes the scene unforgettable. Michael emerges from the darkness, Tommy gun in hand. We get a beautifully framed wide shot as he walks towards Rooney, the barrel of his gun positioned directly over him, a subtle yet deliberate visual cue signaling what's about to happen. Michael has stepped out of the darkness, revealing his face for the first time, and in doing so, makes it clear that this isn't just another job, this is personal. A man who has spent his life as an enforcer, taking lives with cold efficiency, now stands before someone he once called a father, about to commit a murder unlike any other. As the two men share the frame for the first and last time, the score swells with its most sentimental strings. Not triumphant, not vengeful, but mournful. The weight of their fractured relationship, the years of loyalty and betrayal, all crystallize in this single moment. Rooney turns to face Michael, and we shift to over-the-shoulder coverage, capturing both men's expressions. In this moment, we're not just watching, we're seeing things unfold from their perspective. No distance, no ambiguity, just one final moment where they are visually connected. Their faces share a moment of sorrow, regret, betrayal, and love. With the sound of the rain creeping back in, we get the first and only piece of dialogue in the scene. Rooney, his face heavy with regret and sorrow, utters the words,
"I'm glad it's you."
In his final breath, he offers Michael a quiet moment of endearment, as if to say, I love you and I respect what you have to do. It's not defiance, it's not pleading, it's acceptance. Because we have to remember, John Rooney's son Connor caused all this, but Rooney understood the world he built. Loyalty to blood, no matter how undeserving, was an unspoken law. To betray his own son would have been to betray the very foundation of his power, and so he made his choice, knowing full well that it would lead here. That's what makes his final moment so powerful. He isn't surprised to see Michael. He isn't angry. He's resigned. Deep down, he always knew it would end this way. Michael raises his gun, and we see the pain and sadness of what he must do, kill the only man who was like a father to him. And for the first time in the scene, we get to hear Michael fire his gun, making Rooney's execution and the weight of the moment hit even harder. The sudden roar of the Tommy gun rips through the scene, grounding us back in the brutal reality of what's happening. But there's something more to it. The extended burst of gunfire isn't just an execution, it's an emotional outcry. He holds down the trigger, as if the violence itself is the only way he can express the pain of what he's doing. Then comes what is arguably one of the most striking moments in the entire scene, something that feels almost unnatural in a film like this, something we rarely, if ever, see on screen. Michael looks up, and for the first time he realizes he was never alone. alone. Ghostly figures stand in the windows of their apartments, watching. Their faces are obscured, backlit, their expressions unreadable. From a narrative standpoint, this moment isn't necessary. The story could function just as fine without it, but symbolically it transforms everything. It ties back to the religious undertones that have been running through the film from the very beginning, and the title of the movie itself. If the opening crane shot was the perspective of an omniscient force watching this event unfold, then this moment is its confirmation. The strangers in their homes aren't just bystanders. To me, they represent the many executions Michael has carried out in his career. They're the silent, faceless witnesses to yet another act of violence that's dragging Michael further toward perdition. What makes this moment so cinematic is not just the way it's shot, but the way it feels. Mendes doesn't just stage an execution, he orchestrates a requiem. Every choice, the absence of gunfire until the final moment, the silhouettes watching from above, the mournful swell of Thomas Newman's score, elevates the scene beyond a simple act of revenge. It becomes something greater, something biblical. The rain doesn't just set the mood, it washes away an era. The framing doesn't just capture the action, it turns it into a myth. And at the heart of it all, two legends deliver a final, devastating exchange. Paul Newman, in his last live action film role, gives John Rooney a death that is both dignified as it is inevitable. And Tom Hanks, playing against type, transforms Michael Sullivan into a man weighed down by fate, never once making this execution feel triumphant, only necessary. And behind the camera, Conrad Hall captures every shadow, every glimmer of rain, painting the frame with a sense of quiet doom. His cinematography doesn't just depict the story, it deepens it, turning a city street into a purgatory where sins must be reckoned with. And through it all, Thomas Newman's score swells at just the right moments, never overwhelming, only ever guiding the emotion of the scene like an unseen force. This isn't just a great execution scene, it's one of the best ever put to film.